Hey everyone! This video was supposed to go up after the second gameplay video, but I decided to push it up for two reasons. One, this video will cover a lot less information compared to the gameplay video and will be easier for me to make. Two, as of writing this, I'm focusing on getting out the Banjo's Errand dub, and didn't want to leave Project Crossover without another part. This is a series that's been important to me for a long time, so I wanted to keep content coming for it. But with how much time I've been dedicated to Banjo and IRL stuff, time kept getting away from me to work on PC. I apologize again for how long this series has been taking, but I hope you enjoy this video and look forward to the next gameplay video, which will hopefully come out early next year. Fingers crossed. Anyway, thank you for your patience, and here's the roster video. All right, now let's get to one of the most important things about a game like this: the roster of icons. When deciding on the roster, I gave myself a few ground rules to keep myself focused. First of all, only one character per franchise. I wanted to include as many franchises as possible, but I also wanted to keep the representation fair. If the roster had both Mario Bros, Sonic and Friends, the Avengers, and multiple Star Wars protagonists, then it wouldn't be fair to lesser represented series. This means that I mainly went with main characters for each franchise, and there are hardly any villains among the playable characters, though there was a brief time when I wanted the red guy to be playable. Not to mention that some character movesets involve them switching to other characters from the same franchise, but there are only a few of those, so it shouldn't be too bad. Second, I also wanted to include a few characters for the surprise factor, but also make sure that they could still function as playable characters. This is similar to how Sakurai picks surprise characters for Smash, where he pulls unexpected and weird characters like Piranha Plant or Rob, but manages to make an interesting fighter with the concept. Many of the surprise characters I initially had in mind were cut, but there are still a few surprises with some of the roster choices. Third, this is still my game, so I wanted to include characters that I would be excited to see. That's kinda self-explanatory. With all this in mind, I started with a roster of 50 characters. Then that became 52. Then it became 54. Then it became 80. Then 100. Then 124. But finally, I settled on a number. In Project Crossover, there will be 64 unique characters to choose from. We've already revealed 45 of those characters, which leaves 19 to go. I plan to reveal the remaining 19 as we go through the story, so I hope you look forward to seeing who's left. To make this video a little longer, I thought it would be interesting to go over a few of the considered and cut characters. Counting the 64 characters currently in the roster, there were over 150 characters considered for Project Crossover. But unfortunately, I was trying to be a little more realistic with the roster. Including hundreds of characters would have been cool, but it also would have led to a game that was hard to develop. Granted, I'm sure that a roster of 64 characters for a Kingdom Hearts-styled RPG is already a tall order, but I had to cap it off somewhere so I didn't go overboard. Anyway, let's get into a few cut characters, shall we? First, I wanted to do a character that was a combination of 2 or more franchises. Similar to how in Project Cross Zone, you would see characters from different series partnering up. Like Dimitri from Darkstalkers teaming up with Dante from the Devil May Cry series. I came up with 4 character concepts for this. 1 made it into the game, 2 were played around with, and the last one was just an idea. This idea would have been a team-up between Coraline, Norman from Paranorman, and Eggs from the Box Trolls. The only idea I had for this team-up was Eggs creating a device that he and the other 2 would ride in for combat, but there wasn't anything else beyond that. Honestly, out of every protagonist from Laika's movies, I felt that Kubo was the one who had the most potential for a moveset. Eggs and Mr. Link were behind though, and I did come up with how a character from Paranorman could work, but I decided to not go through with the idea. Regardless, this was just a quick idea, and I think Kubo is ultimately the best choice to represent Laika with the playable characters. Although, one of them may show up in the game in a form that's not a medallion. Now, this next part is kind of embarrassing. With the reveals of SpongeBob, Jimmy, Timmy, Danny, Aang, Zim, and Rango, I have revealed all of the playable Nickelodeon characters for the game. Now, there were other characters considered from this channel, but not as many as there were from Cartoon Network. The only ones I considered adding were Reptar, Jenny, El Tigre, Garfield, and most recently, Tak. Somehow I forgot Tak existed even though I played the first game as a kid and remembered his involvement in the Nicktoons Unite games, which Project Crossover shares continuity with. It's a shame because I know other Nicktoon characters would be perfect for the game, but there are a few Nickelodeon shows that I'm not that familiar with. Like, I watched a lot, but only like a few episodes, and I didn't get into them as much as the ones that are in the game now. That said, even though I made a big deal out of his inclusion, I watched Danny Phantom the least of the Nicktoon shows that got onto the roster. But I know more about him compared to Jenny, which is why I chose to include him. That, and I wanted to have a Nicktoons Unite homage. Although, this means that the Nickelodeon characters mainly represent the early 2000s and a bit of the 90s era. Rest assured, the Cartoon Network lineup is a bit more varied. Next is Chell from Portal. In an earlier version of the game, Chell would have joined the party early on, and had a moveset based around her portal gun and some of the objects from the series, like the companion cube, the blue and orange gels, and even a turret. Wheatley was also going to be part of Chell's moveset, and would have helped her summon these items. I think there was going to be something about GLaDOS working on a device that can teleport things to different locations, and Wheatley was going to use this device to assist Chell in combat. Ultimately, while she had a lot of moveset potential, and was one of the initial 50 characters that were considered, I decided to not include Chell. Maybe in the DLC she'll have her time to shine. But rest assured, this won't be the last time we talk about Portal in this series. Speaking of the initial 50 characters, you might be surprised to know that Totoro was considered as a playable character at the start of development. This was going to tie into that surprise factor I was talking about earlier. The idea I had for Totoro's moveset is that he would use his umbrella to attack, but would also summon trees and the giant top that he rides to provide support to his allies. I think he would have been a fun character, but spoiler alert, I demoted him to one of the side quest characters. For the sake of having representation for Studio Ghibli, I didn't want to demote him to a medallion character, which is why he still has a role in the game. Also, while this is a fan project, let's be real, Studio Ghibli would be very protective of how Totoro is depicted in the game. Having him be a side quest provider would be hard enough, but convincing them to have one of the most gentle characters in all of fiction to fight enemies might be a little harder. Regardless, Totoro still has a supporting role in the game, which is good. Now, let's talk about one more cut character, who is...
I'm David Pumpkin!
And I'm half joking with this one. I played around with the idea of having joke characters, and one who came to mind was David Pumpkins from Saturday Night Live, mostly because of how silly the character is, and the idea of him being playable in a crossover game just sounded funny. That said, I didn't have a moveset in mind. He probably would have used attacks based on other SNL sketches, but the character doesn't have anything to do with those sketches, so why would he have moves based on them? Also, while he is a funny character, SNL doesn't need a playable character, nor would one even make sense for inclusion. As medallions? Yeah, that makes sense, those are where cameos belong, but a playable character for an American sketch comedy show? Again, it's kind of funny, but it's also weird, I'll admit. Regardless, it was mostly a joke of mine, though maybe David S. Pumpkins will make his way into Project Crossover some other way.
Any questions?
That will do it for now with cut characters. Once again, there were a lot of characters considered for this game, but I think it would be better to save the list of cut characters for after the story portion of this series, especially since some of those cut characters might be DLC, but that topic will also have to wait a while. I will admit that the game's roster isn't perfect. I wanted to have more female characters, which is why Rey was chosen as the Star Wars rep, and over a third of the roster is comprised of video game characters. That's mostly because I felt that there were a lot of good candidates, but I could have tried to balance it out a bit more. On that note, the way that the characters are organized on the select screen is by medium. So Mario begins the video game section, Caesar begins the film section, Steven and Connie begin the TV section, and Deku begins the literature section. I thought it would be interesting to have the characters organized this way to show which medium they originate from, even though the Iron Giant should really be in the literature category because he's a book character, but besides that, the roster placement is accurate. Now, before we wrap up, I have a little surprise for everyone. Because of the part switch, and because of how long it's taking me to finish PC in general, I have a character reveal for everyone! You guys might remember that I did a poll a while ago on which character should be revealed next, and it seems that the anime character was the most popular option. So, without further ado, why don't we see who this anime character is? That's right! The future king of the pirates, Monkey D. Luffy, is joining the roster in Project Crossover. I'll admit, I was a little hesitant to add Luffy to the roster, mostly because I was confused about something with the manga. See, I had heard of the big three of manga and anime, and because of Jump Force, I had assumed that the big three meant Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Naruto. Goku was always going to be in Project Crossover, and while I wanted to have Luffy in the game too, I didn't want to leave out Naruto. I haven't watched Naruto yet, so I didn't want to have only two of the big three in the game. However, I then found out that the big three refers to which manga series was popular during a specific decade. So Dragon Ball was one of the big three in its respective decade, while One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach were the big three in their respective decade. Combine that with my One Piece brain rot and a solid idea of how Luffy would work in the game, and our good old Joy Boy got a spot in the game. Well, I think that'll do it for this video. So once again, thank you
Hold it, wait, don't end the video just yet.
Huh? What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here until the story portion.
Listen, Luffy is cool and all, but considering how long you've been taking with this series, I think you owe the audience one more character.
What? But then there will be less characters left to reveal in the story.
Come on. You're already spending more time on that Banjo project than this one, so why not give your audience something else exciting? Besides, there's still a few more surprises on the roster, so you can afford to do one more reveal.
I guess you have a point. Alright then, I'll reveal one more character. But you better not reveal yourself until the story portion. Understood?
Okay, jeez. Second gameplay video better be here before GTA 6.
Anyways, as that person who I haven't revealed yet suggested, here's one more character reveal for you all. The big ape himself, Donkey Kong, is here, and he's ready to kick some tail. Believe it or not, DK almost didn't make it into Project Crossover, and was originally supposed to be partnered up with Diddy Kong. However, because of recent events, including the masterpiece known as Donkey Kong Bonanza, the big ape smashed his way onto the roster by himself. DK already has enough to work with by himself anyways, but Diddy will be featured as a medallion in the game. With that, we have 2 more characters added to the roster, bringing us to 47 characters and 17 hidden ones. It's looking to be quite an all-star cast, isn't it? Now that we've gone over the roster, we can get back to talking about the rest of the gameplay in the next video. This time, for real. And once again, thank you all so much for your patience with this series, and I hope you look forward to seeing who's left on the roster. Have a nice day, everybody, and have a happy holiday season.